Well, once we've identified the one big key truth for a book of the Bible, then what I'll do is read through the book looking for a natural set of divisions. Well, really, we've always tended to divide our study guides up into 6 sections for something that's small enough to handle that, or 10 for the bigger books. And we did that originally because we always had in mind the way that local churches would want to run home groups or study courses or things like that. And we always thought, let's try and keep it to either 6 or 10, and always those numbers so that there was a predictability about it. So in a way, yeah, it's a slightly artificial thing. The book as a whole is going to be divided into these 6 or 10 sections, but it's usually worked out quite well, and we can see fairly neat and reasonable ways of dividing it up like that. So then we have our big key truth. So in this one, the book of John, our big key truth, if you remember, is you must be born again, because we found all the way through there's this issue of Jesus giving life. And John at the end says, I've written these things that you may believe. And believing in Jesus, get life from him, life in his name. So all the way through this issue of getting life and resurrection and new birth and the sense that we're dead without Jesus, that was this big theme all the way through. And Jesus, of course, has eternal life, everlasting life. The whole Gospel of John begins with that idea of Jesus existing before the universe even began. Always there. There was never a time when Jesus didn't exist. He has life without limit. He's filled with the Spirit without limit. All of that idea, and that he comes to us. He's the creator of all things. Through him, everything that has got life gets life through him, because he's the one through whom the Spirit is given. So all of that is in my mind when I'm writing this study guide and dividing it up into sections, and then each of those 10 sections gets divided up. So here it's study 4 on feeding, because it's all about that bread of life, and that feeding on Jesus gives us life, and that he can give out just physical bread, and people get this sense of getting a little bit of physical life from the bread and feeling, I've got some life, I've got some energy now. And that from that they're to understand, no, it's not just about eating ordinary bread. We need a kind of food that gives us life on a much higher level, and if we feed on Christ, we get life, which is like a permanent thing. So then I divided it up into 5 little sections that help us to tease out this idea of feeding on Jesus to get resurrection life. So that process of breaking the book up into sections, and then each of those individual sections into smaller portions, there's the really big theme, and then we see that done in either 6 or 10 small themes, and then each of those 6 or 10 themes break down to another, say 3, 4, 5, 6 occasionally smaller bits, so that each little bit is manageable. But we're always trying to make sure that we're showing how the whole book of the Bible is working to show off usually one really big truth, and then these little smaller truths that all contribute to this big vision of Jesus. It's always about Jesus. Every book of the Bible is absolutely and completely about Jesus, telling us who he is, what he's done, and that's always the central driving force in all the way we organize these study guides.